Like, I mean, I guess you can. There's also the fact now that you can share.
In what sense?
They're having it so that you can share your. I don't remember all the ins and outs, but you can share your digital games to a different console.
Interesting.
So that you don't, if so, like, you don't have to have the physical cartridge in order to share a game.
I mean, to be fair, hold on. Oh no.
Did you know we were live, or?
Yes, I do, but give me a second. Sarah, entertain the people.
I mean, I can talk about how I just bought Baldur's Gate literally like 2 hours ago. I bought Baldur's Gate 2 hours ago, and they downloaded it fairly quickly, actually, all things considered. And I did not spend a whole bunch of time on character creation. I'm not someone who likes to spend a lot of time on character creation. I like playing the game. Yeah.
Can you hear now? If the sound was having a brief issues because I was doing something, that's what I needed Sarah to. I needed Sarah to entertain. Hold on. Speak again. Hold on. Give me a sec. Give me a second. Well. Let me. No? Okay. Okay. Things are happening. Hold on. Why is it not capturing it now? I'm trying to.
You're talking to the void.
There.
Ah, I'm here.
Calm down. Please stop screaming.
Never.
Okay. There. I think I finished it.
Fine.
I don't know why it suddenly had issues with that, because it was on the same setting and I didn't change anything with that, but whatever.
It's because I'm a curse upon your stream.
Yeah, you'll probably disappear halfway through and I'll have to replace you with Golden Bonnie or something.
As I was saying, I'm playing a ranger in Baldur's Gate.
Of course you are. They suck. I hate to break it to you.
Well,
they aren't good. Faye tried playing one and she switched classes halfway through because she was like, yeah, this ain't it. And she would constantly forget to mark people, and so she was basically just a bow person, and that's it.
well, we'll see. The thing is, I'm specifically a ranger because Yoshi was showing me a video of, like, that was breaking down each of the classes, and showing me when the ranger one come up, it shows them summoning a frog familiar, and I'm like, sold.
Yeah.
So now I'm a ranger who's only going to summon frogs. But I'm very anxious about playing this game.
Why? Because the spiders? They're not in everything.
Well, I've learned through my research of trying to find an arachnophobia mod. Well, that's the thing. There aren't as many as you think they would be, and the ones that do exist are apparently very buggy. And you say they're not everywhere. Apparently, there's a very prominent NPC in the second act.
Well, prominent. You could kill him really quickly.
I guess I've heard it depends on the story that you're doing.
Well,
don't mind the square.
Don't question things. Listen, things happen. Anyways, but no. Do you know, like, if you're planning on being good or evil?
I'm kind of just going for it right now because I'm not really planning on a specific playthrough. I'm
But
just
then yeah, you
playing
could
it.
totally kill that person very early on, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. It would just present you different options to proceed with the story.
The story, like the tentative story that I built around this character as of right now, is that they're a halfling ranger
Sure.
who does not care for people who like majorly use spellcasting for like their main form of combat.
Okay.
So they
I'm
don't like
assuming this has
spellcasters
to do with a
basically.
backstory that you've made up already in your
And
mind.
not really. It's just kind of the vibes I'm getting at the moment. I haven't really made a backstory, but this is the vibes as of right now.
Oh, fireball, no good. Don't like
But I know, I
that.
mean, I know the only thing I have planned is that I want to romance Karlak.
I mean, yeah, I figured that
Because
was
of
gonna be
course.
your main one.
Of
And I
course.
think you're gonna go on an emotional roller coaster with her storyline.
I also know that I want to probably do a co-op game with you and Yoshi, and I want to be a wild magic sorcerer during that campaign,
Okay.
because I think it would be hilarious.
I think sorcerers of all of the spellcasters are the easiest in my opinion. So I think that's good. Because like
Well,
they don't
I'm
have to
playing a sorcerer in
focus.
my actual D&D campaign, so
I still think sorcerers are comparatively to like a warlock or a wizard solely based off of the fact of like having to learn spells and switch spells out for wizards, and then for warlock just because the way that they cast and fight is really weird.
yeah.
But I played all
But
three, and
I'm
I
gonna,
did I had
yeah.
the most fun with sorcerer though, so I think it'll be a fun time for you.
I will say, alongside the spiders fact, I am also worried just because I don't do too well with very explicit gore.
um I'm trying to think.
I'll play a game with you, Faye.
I feel like the most I can think of in terms of explicit gore that it has is like dead bodies. Because
See, you say that.
you don't see, I mean, maybe a disembodied head here and there, but like typically you don't
I,
see that kind of action.
literally, the first thing I've done in like the less than 10 minutes of me playing is I ripped a brain out of a skull.
Okay, I don't consider that gore because it looks like it's made of Play-Doh.
It's the
And you could
idea, though,
choose to
too.
not do it. Like, that's an option you have.
But you know me, I do things to see
Okay,
what
then
they
you
do.
only have yourself to blame in that situation. If you're like, I don't want a gore possibility, but then you walk up to something that clearly looks like it's gonna turn into something gross, and you're like, but let me press this button though.
Well, I found a unfinished mod that is supposed to turn the spiders into sheep.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't apparently do it for like the main guy that I'm worried about.
I have a love. You could probably find mods specifically for him, and if you can't, I could probably find one. But I have like a love-hate relationship with what they did to the modding system.
Of like the mod manager built-in one.
Yeah, because it used to be where you had to manually do it, but they had so many different mods that were actually compatible, including like just visual ones that made character customization way broader in a way. And
Hmm.
now it's very difficult to do that kind of stuff.
Well,
But
the one
it
I'm
is.
using is one that has been tested, and there have been like recent comments and everything about fixing bugs and everything, literally to like yesterday. So I'm like, I trust you a bit more. Hoo-hoo. So we're
Ooh.
gonna see where he turns all the spiders into dogs
Well,
or rats if they're
Shitty
small.
said that she got Baldur's Gate recently too on sale. Did you get it on sale?
Yeah, it was like 20% off.
Better than nothing. But yeah, she said that she got it and she would be willing to play with me. So I was gonna try and play with her and potentially. I know Faye said she would do it, and I think Kester said she would do it too to replace our movie night on Monday. So we would have one with Shani.
How many people can play it in one
Or
campaign? Ah,
I mean, that's the thing. I can ask Hester because I'm not going to kick her out if she actually wants to play. But I also know that we were kind of forcing her to play through it with us the first time. So if she would rather just like chill, talk to us, and watch, I could see doing that too. So I'll have to ask her. Because I wouldn't mind you doing it with me, Faye, and Shinny. That's the thing. We have so many things that we have to do, like campaign-wise, of multiple different people, because there's only 4 that you can do. But it also means that in our campaign, you wouldn't be able to romance anyone. I mean, you
That's all
could,
right.
but it would be very hard to do so. Because typically the way that the romance works is through like your bond meter, which only gets opportunities if you're in the party with them.
Yeah, that's fine.
But at this point, hold on, now I want to check. I wanted to see how many hours I had. I don't have nearly as many as Yoshi, which is funny, considering that I've actually completed multiple campaigns more than her. But that's because she told me she saves books. She literally keeps books that you find and stores them in a bag and reads them. She reads the whole of these books, and these books sometimes are really long. And she's just out here reading them. Yeah, I only have
Honestly,
like almost 500 hours.
well, I mean, I have 85 minutes right now, just and to be fair, at least 30 minutes of that is just me having the game open while I've been looking for arachnophobia mods.
Well,
So, if you can find any better arachnophobia mods than what I've found, I am open to it.
well, I can always look. But anyway, is that going to be your weekly obsession?
No.
Okay.
Well, first off, D&D update.
Oh boy.
Had fitting. Segue. Woohoo. So D&D. We ended off in another flashback battle. And
I also just realized that sorry, but I just realized our background music also hasn't been working.
this is going so good.
There. You're wondering why it was abnormally quiet. Listen, audio is gonna have issues. I need to fix all the audio from now on. God.
D&D update. So we entered in during a battle flashback. And we completed the flashback. It had a whole bunch of other flashbacks. It was a lot of like very story heavy. It was a lot of flashbacks. It was a lot of just going in and out between like what this character was experiencing. And that was pretty much the whole session. And we ended it right before we got out of the flashback and we're right in front of the guy and we're like about to confront him about everything that's happened. But we learned that the guy we've been searching for the last like 3 months now, I guess, in real life, because we started at like basically the beginning of January. We realized that, oh, he died getting this artifact that he apparently brought with him into Sharn. And it was actually his lover, his partner, who had the box.
There.
And because we see a flashback of the person who sent us on this quest initially, Chandris, talking to the guy we've been chasing, Laird Skane's partner, and how his partner was very upset that, oh yeah, Laird Skane died during trying to get this box, and so he dropped the box into the ocean. And he was taken into custody. Don't know what's happened to him so far.
Custody.
But yeah, he was arrested and everything. And because these are all like military people. And all we know now is that for some reason Laird Skane's alive somehow right in front of us, and he has the box that got dropped into the ocean. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at the moment, and we ended a little early because of that, but we were told like to kind of give the DM some sort of like prompt or something to go off of, so that, because this is finishing up the first arc of the story, so that we can do kind of like some character specific stories. And I told him like, ooh, I have a one shot I've been wanting to write that you can work off of. And I was joking that, oh, the
Proceeds to
DM
send a
gives
15-page one shot to the
Yes, I know
DM.
that's kind of what was the joke was like,
Yeah.
oh, you give me homework, I'll give you some back, kind of a deal. So I'm still gonna write it, but I'm not gonna like make it like you have to read this in order to understand. No, like here's it if you want extra context, but here's the gist of it, like kind of a deal. That's what I'm gonna do. And I might give him a few because I don't know if he specifically wants only one, if he wants a couple, I don't know. But so that's the D&D update. Um, actual weekly obsession. It's a weird one. It is One Piece related, but it isn't specifically watching One Piece.
Okay.
The One Piece anime came back last weekend. It was on a 6-month hiatus, and so it finally came back. And animation, beautiful, wonderful. However,
Oh boy.
the animation studio Toei, is
Toe.
like, no.
I know how it's spelled if you say it like that.
It's directly kind of like slandering Sanji because it's doing
How?
a couple things that it's like, well, it's not following the manga. First off, it is doing things that is like, but it's only affecting Sanji, and the fact that it's not following the manga, like, there's a very strong enemy that's, well, kind of an enemy, like pseudo enemy that has been that attacks a straw hat. Straw hats at the beginning of this arc, and Sanji and Zoro are specifically two of the ones that like are not having issues with these enemies. But for some reason,
Sanji's the blonde one in the suit, right?
yes.
Okay. See, I do remember.
Yay, I'm proud of you. But for some reason, Toei decided to completely change it when they didn't need to, and do like a little flashback that again wasn't necessary because we didn't need it, and it just changes what already happened. Basically saying that Nami, someone who was one of the, like, power level wise, one of the weakest members of the Straw Hats, somehow saved Sanji from this person, and we're like, what? One, that doesn't happen, and two, that doesn't make sense. Like, what's the point of this other than making Sanji look weak for some reason? There's been issues of making Sanji a bit more of a simp than he actually is.
I mean, he does have a simp body.
Well, yes, but he also is. The thing is, he is he is the definition of what a simp would be. He's a major womanizer type of thing, but he is not as bad as Toei is making him in this specific arc, at least, where it's literally just like there's one of him like becoming like acting like a puppy around Nami, and like that wasn't in the manga. That's not necessary, but okay. And then the main thing, in my opinion, well, the other thing is that in like the main screen cap from these 2 episodes that were aired last week, he is just straight up missing from this screen cap when he's in this spread in the original manga. He's just completely gone. Like, there's literally a gleaming, like, space where he should be, and he just isn't.
Maybe they just, the people specifically there that are working on it just really don't like him as a character.
Maybe? But then, honestly, the worst thing is that he has been shown to act like his normal, like, woman-obsessed self with someone who we know as the audience. Yes, Mikey. Yay, everyone remembers who Sanji is. I'm so happy people listen to me.
Well, when you make us listen to you for a couple hours, we kind of had to take something away from it.
Yay! But he's been, like, making hard eyes. He's been acting very flirtatious towards someone who the audience knows, especially, is a child, is a 12-year-old girl. And the thing is,
Checks
in
out.
the manga, he does not act like this. He is still very much like a, oh, I'll make sure everything is okay for you and I'll protect you kind of deal, but he's not actively like, oh, woman, like, no, he doesn't behave like that. He acts like he does normally towards pretty much any child, which is like, okay, you're a child who needs to be protected kind of a deal. And it's just because she looks like her entire devil fruit is that she can make things older. and so or she can manipulate the age of people. So she has made herself like 20 years older or something, or 10 years older or something like that. And so she looks like she's an adult.
How convenient.
But it's made very clear that she is not an adult. And everyone pretty much knows this, to a certain extent at least. And just based on how certain systems work, like how hockey worked, anyone who has any sort of observation hockey or can kind of who pays attention to this character very much knows she's a child. And I hate that trope too. I do hate the trope, but it's being handled in One Piece at least. It's not a case of people are falling in love with this character, or if they are background characters who do not know anything. And that's the thing. That's what's annoying all of the actual fans of One Piece who have read the manga, is because Sanji does not act like this. He's only acting this way in the anime that Toei is directing and making. He does not act this way in the manga. He is very respectful towards this fact. And that's what is annoying, because it's making Sanji look like a lot more of a creep than he is. He's a creep, don't get me wrong, but he's not that much of a creep. And so that's what's annoying us. And then they have the audacity to like Thursday or something to be like, Toei, their Instagram page posted was like, oh, 25 years ago we met Sanji, and I was like, okay, shut up. You don't get to appreciate him, assholes. So there's kind of under every like Toei post, it's just been #justice for Sanji. Cause he's such a good character, but Toei is like just completely ruining him.
Just sounds
And
like
it
there's
makes me
one
so
particular
angry.
writer that does not like him at all.
There is a new director directing the anime, so I don't know.
Oh,
But
Sarah,
it's also what?
do you have something to say to Mikey?
Do I?
Let it be known, Mikey, I gave her a chance.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's okay.
What are you talking about?
No, go on. Continue.
I genuinely do not know what you're talking about.
It's not a promise.
Did I do something?
No.
Was it like his birthday and I missed it? Like,
Maybe.
happy birthday, Mikey? I don't know when your birthday was, but happy birthday, I guess. I don't know what's going on.
I just wanted to force it out of you too.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. Okay, at least Mikey's confused too.
Look, I'm getting texts about my taxes.
Well, and I think the most upsetting part to me is because I started watching the anime from the start of this arc again, because I'm like, I want to catch up to it. And I've seen a lot of the animation, and the animation is so good. It's like genuinely, like when it comes to the fight scenes and everything, the animation is mwah, beautiful, absolutely stellar. And even like some little things like of the crew interacting and everything is so good. Like they're so expressive, it's genuinely amazing. But then there's those little bits and pieces that are like, okay, that's not necessary. Why did you do that? So it's frustrating. So a lot of One Piece fans are really frustrated because we were really excited about the anime coming back, and then they pull this shit. So that's why I'm like,
I feel like no matter what, people are going to be angry at something that's going on.
yeah, but especially when it comes to, one thing I will say is that One Piece people, and I'm not innocent of this, we are very much
Passionate,
and I would almost say
obsessed.
purists. When it comes to like what is canon versus what isn't. I would not call us an angry mob. We're just, no, we are not nearly as bad as them.
Okay, let's not start this war. Okay.
But specifically, like, we like to make sure that Oda's work is interpreted correctly. and in a faithful manner. And Toei is not interpreting it in a faithful manner, and that's upsetting a lot of us. So, especially to the people who really like Sanji, because Sanji is like a really, really good character, and just it's just sad to see him treated this way.
He's one of the people you would date, wouldn't it be?
Absolutely.
Just because he would be a simp for you, essentially.
Honestly, show me a woman who wouldn't, like, genuine, like, cause I say, okay, it's very generalizing, because there are definitely women who would be like, no, but like, I absolutely would. Absolutely, without hesitation.
Well, I mean,
That's why I'm excited for the remake, because a lot of us are hoping that this remake is, one, going to fix the pacing issues, going to fix the early animation issues and storytelling aspects, because it was very much stuck to like the early Saturday morning cartoons kind of vibe that they had to follow. So it's gonna fix basically the age rating on early episodes, the pacing issues of later episodes, and then hopefully it's also going to follow the manga a lot closer than it has been.
yeah, but isn't it
So,
set
yeah.
to like it's like undetermined when it's actually going to come out, essentially?
Oh yeah, I'm not expecting it anytime soon.
7 years from now.
I can still be excited for it.
I'm excited for the prospect of it.
Yes. The
Oh
hope.
god.
It gives me hope in these
And
trying
that's why
times.
people say that the One Piece fans are crazy. Because they hold on to that dream.
We've been following we've been following one story for some of us literally our whole lives.
For too
So,
long.
listen. Good story.
Well,
We're half an hour in. Go ahead with yours.
I'll do the song thing first because it's not that much, and then I'll do the weekly obsession because it kind of links into the song stuff. So, this was a very light week because I was mainly working a bunch through. I say working, but listening to a bunch of the songs that I had the previous week because I saved a bunch. But I got 4 new songs, and I would say my main one that I can recommend, depending on what kind of vibe you go for, it's very Evanescent sounding to me. It's this song called Evangelic Girl is a Gun by an artist named, I want to say their name is pronounced Yule. It's spelled Yeule.
Okay.
And apparently I learned that it's based off of a Final Fantasy character. And I've known about this artist for a while. They because I've saved some of their songs before, but they're coming out with an album also titled the same thing, Evangelic Girl is a Gun. And that was the most recent thing that they had released. And I listened to it, and it's very like dark pop punk. Well, maybe not even pop punk, almost grungy punk. And it has some like electro synth stuff that drives into a big breakdown. That's what their name is based off of. Okay, Hide, I don't know, but that's what I read. But this specific song is a really fun song. It's a good song for the gym, let me tell you. But another, I would say, close second would be a song by Marina, formerly Marina and the Diamonds, called Contissimo. And yes, that is what it means. She's coming out with a new album soon. I don't know when. I don't know what the same thing is supposed to be, like when the release date's supposed to be. I know that the Yule album's supposed to be out May 30th, but I'm mainly doing cardio right now, George. I've been doing a bunch of treadmill and elliptical related stuff, alone in the gym by myself. And then a fun thing that has been repeating on my brain for the past like week or so has been the line, "You can see me when I punch your face." Because, and this ties into my weekly obsession, It is from the most recent released song, like that released 2 weeks ago by Artemis, who I went to see in concert this past week
Woo!
on Tuesday. That was not a fun drive to go see them. It could have been worse. Could have been in Georgia, but went to see them with Yoshi. Forced her to be my human tripod. And it was really cool to see them perform in person because I didn't know this at the time. I mean, I probably should have, considering the branding that they were going with for this tour. But the tour that they're on right now is called Lunar Theory, and they basically did a whole lot of Luna songs because, you know, they can. Like, the Blockberry doesn't have the rights to them. So they did a bunch of Luna songs, including like my main girl that I like, her name's Cherry. She did her solo as well as Girlfront from Odd Eye Circle, and they performed that in person. So that was really cool to actually see live and make Yoshi record for me. And she also got a lot of really good pictures, like with her phone, because it zooms in pretty well. And then I was a little sad that they didn't perform more of their original songs, because there was some songs that I wanted to see the choreography for. But I'm still okay with seeing a bunch of the Luna songs, because they also performed that latest song with it's called Burn, but it has the line, "You can see me when I punch your face." But yeah, and I got to actually bring my Luna light stick and use it for something that made sense. And there's a lot of people there with not only Luna light sticks, but also a bunch of different groups that had nothing to do with it. But there are also some people that had light sticks of all the people that like went solo, like they had Chu and Eve, and they had their light sticks, and I thought that was really cute. So it was really fun. And then the drive back was terrifying.
And then he got back and then scared the shit out of me.
Only once. And it's very easy to scare Sarah. I'm gonna be real with you. Just be quiet and then boop her. But yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time. The driving wasn't fun, but other than the driving and some of the people, the people behind us, they were screaming the lyrics the entire time to every single song. And it wasn't singing, it was screaming. And so I could almost hear them more than I could hear the music at certain times. But I told Sarah this, I forgot how loud concerts are. Because we weren't near the stage, which scares me to think that the people near the stage had it even louder, but it was really loud. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if you were right by the stage, it would be horrible. Because you would have to wear like earplugs or something.
I mean, I wore earplugs when I went to the TXT concert.
Well, yes, the Miley Cyrus song on that dark country road. That was a horrifying experience that we'll never get back.
She played it for me.
Yeah, just imagine you're driving alone at like 11 at night down a road you've never been before in the middle of nowhere. And that's what plays. But then I think, yeah, that would probably be my main obsession, because that was the main thing that I had fun with. And now I have so many pictures and video. And that's the thing, on video, it does not nearly portray how loud it was in real life.
Oh, yeah, no.
Which I find so hilarious, but yeah, that's what happened. And then I can talk about this, because this was just something that came up. So I went out with friends yesterday to go eat dumplings, and it was in an area that I had known. So I like knew that there was a boba tea place nearby that I remembered was nearby. And I was like, hey, we should go get boba tea after this. And they said, sure. And so we walked over there. And as we walk over there, Sarah, I was reminded of the time that we tried to go to the K-pop store and it wasn't there. Because we go up to this place and there's trash bags on all of the windows and like 3 or 4 signs that say we're closed forever underlined. And I was like, why is this always happening to me when I'm trying to take people somewhere? But we ended up going to another tea place nearby that luckily they had. But that was so crazy that was the second time that that's happened now. And it's always
It
when it's
wasn't
trying to show.
closed. It was
It was
just
closed.
moved.
No, but this place was closed, and specifically, like on all of the signs, I took a picture of it because of how ridiculous it was. It says "shut down,
Send it.
closed forever,"
Send it. Send it. Send it.
and it was so stupid. But luckily, the tea at the other place was pretty good. But yeah, that was just something funny that happened today. And also, when I was actually driving over there, first of all, I missed my turn to like my exit. The bamboo tea place, Yoshi. I missed my turn to the exit, had to drive past in horrible traffic coming back because there was an accident or something, I didn't know. And what ended up happening was at the accident part where it was really slowed down when I was coming back, we all had to move over because the left lane was closed, and I looked in the left lane because I was going past it slowly, obviously, and it was like a car that was charred, like had been on fire. And it was the corpse of a car, and I remember going past it on the freeway before I had to turn around. It did not look like it was on fire, and I didn't see any big flames or anything, so I'm wondering, well, what happened. But yeah, so that's what happened.
This is so. Why is there just a box on the ground?
Listen, that area is questionable at best, but also it's closed forever.
Apparently, shut down, closed forever. Shut down, closed, closed forever. Shut down, closed forever. What in the hell?
No, the people I was with, we were joking because we're like, yeah, that's some really intense wording just for having a. That's what makes me think, what happened? Like, what actually happened to make them say it was closed forever? What vendetta happened? But I'm sad because that was like the main place that I would get Vietnamese coffee from because it was really good. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to find other places. But yeah, so that was what happened yesterday, I guess. Oh. But the dumplings were really good. Got soup dumplings and normal-ish dumplings. They were called like Shanghai dumplings or something, but
And they looked like nipples.
those were the soup dumplings. And they looked horrible when you pushed them because then the soup started oozing out. But it kind of just tasted like ramen broth, but like a slightly spiced version. That's the thing. The spicy part of it was not nearly as spicy as one of the other dishes we got, which was like a spicy soup broth with mushrooms and some beef in it. And that actually had a really good flavor. Like I even had some of the mushrooms and stuff and it was pretty good. But yeah, the dumplings were really good. And that was the first time I'd ever like had soup dumplings and also like, I guess main dumplings, honestly. And the flavor was nice. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. And now we have to go to a Korean barbecue place. So that's next on the agenda. But yeah, what about you? Anything particularly fun happened this week? In your life? I have
I've just
topics.
been in a lot of pain.
Well, that's... Have you been powdering your holes? Have you been greasing up your holes?
I've been greasing them. I have not. Oh god, that's something that happened a lot during D&D 2. Is that our fighter who was playing a wizard in the flashbacks obsessed with the spell grease. So
what was it?
He's
Was it hitting too
grease
close to home? You're like, I have PTSD now.
Honestly, the worst part. No, actually, there's a lot of bad parts. One
about
of the
which
worst
part?
parts
About the D&D or about the holes?
about the whole situation is that I'm trying not to lay on my back.
Sure.
For two reasons. One, because that puts pressure on the holes, and then also because it hurts. So I'm trying to lay on either my stomach or my sides. Laying on my stomach also kind of hurts. So I'm trying to lay on my sides, and it's fucking up my hips.
That's not how you would spell that, Mikey. That makes it seem like you're putting the country of Greece on a specific place.
Grease like the musical, or like bacon
He
grease
might
or
not
something
know what
like
the
that.
musical is either.
Well,
Anyways.
but so there hasn't really been anything fun because on Tuesday I drove to where I used to live to go to my doctor over there, and then came back, and now I have to make a bunch of follow-up appointments, including lab work and like wound care appointments and all that stuff. So
The fact that you have to make appointments for that is so funny to me. Wound
What?
care.
What? What? I can't just. I don't think I would be able to walk into a place that's called wound care and be like, I need you to look at my wounds.
No, it just seems so specialized. Wound care.
I mean, they're
Anyways,
technically wounds.
well, I don't even know how. I have a
That's what
couple
they're
of
considered.
things that we could talk about.
Okay.
So,
I don't know what this title means. Endless is finite, apparently. What does that?
well, that had to do with the fact that the tea place was closed forever.
Oh, I see. I see.
But I have okay, so like I had said, there was Contissimo by Marina.
Mm-hmm.
And she's technically had like 3 other songs off of this upcoming album that I've really liked, actually.
Did listen to that song
The
that you
Bunky
sent.
Becky Bop.
It scares me.
Why?
On
The
a
song
fundamental
or
level.
the music video?
Both.
Why?
Because it's a lot. It's a lot going on, and it scares me. What do you mean? What do I mean?
There's not a lot going. Well, no, there's not that much going on in the music. The video is separate, but the music itself, it just is kind of like turned up glitchy rock, you know?
Yeah. See, that's also a thing is I listen to the lyrics. You do not listen to the lyrics.
Did you not listen to the lyrics of Bunky Bop?
Oh no, I listened to them.
And what did you think?
I think, what the fuck?
Bunky Becky Birthday Girl, come on.
I'd rather
Hello,
not.
hello? I feel like this is the epitome of something that works for you. But no, one of the things I was gonna ask related to Marina is, do you specifically have any musical artists that you want to see a resurgence of? If that makes sense.
You asked that my first.
Oh no, where is this going?
Immediate
Please
thing
don't say
was
the Living Tombstone. Please don't say the
No.
Living Tombstone.
Was lemonade mouth?
Okay, I could see that. I mean, they're in
Like,
very different
genuinely-
places in life right now. But
They very much are.
did you hear about Bridget Mendler like owning a satellite company?
Yeah, I think
And she has
like
like a
politics now,
doctorate too. Like she's gone to
Yeah.
multiple different universities and she's investing in space stuff. And I'm thinking, dear God. But imagine
She's
her
like,
in Lemonade Mouth again.
Honestly, I'd love to see it.
I mean, I feel like Hayley Kiyoko would definitely do something like that.
Oh, absolutely.
I love the stuff that she's come out with by herself.
But I don't know if I have any.
There's a lot of
Like, I'm trying to
lesbian.
I mean, I
'Cause she is.
would be.
So,
You're not wrong.
you know, I have a lot of songs from her that are like really good. What's TLT?
I have no idea what's
Also,
TLT
what
is.
already happened for you, Hide? I only think about it because technically speaking, Marina and the Diamonds, which you might think was her in a band, it was never her in a band. The Diamonds referred to her fans, and it was a play on her last name, like Diamandis or something. But she was known a lot for Marina and the Diamonds because that's like when she came out with Electra Heart, which was like this 2010s Tumblr-esque, very popular kind of album for the time. Like How to Be a Heartbreaker, you might know. Like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time she didn't like have a really big I guess not resurgence is the right word, but I guess big hit or something. And so now that she's coming out with a whole album just under like Marina in all caps, because you know, stylized, it's interesting to see that a bunch of people are like, this sounds like Electra Heart but with medication. Like if she got help at a therapist or something, because Electra Heart was very much like problem child in the sense of like there's this one called Power and Control, or like there's Homewrecker. Like obviously it revolves around not healthy relationship dynamics, but this one seems much more geared towards self-love rather than going after relationships and stuff. And so that's why people are like, it sounds just like it but with a better message. So I don't know. That's what made me think about it because I thought it was interesting. And also I learned that Marina and Charlie XCX, your favorite, used to be close, and then they had beef surrounding fruit and perfume.
Just in general, like.
No, so, and by fruit I mean with two O's. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh. No, okay, yeah, you lost me.
Okay, so Marina, this was back when she went by Marina the Diamonds. She came out with an album called Fruit with two O's, not the VTuber. This came out before the VTuber, probably Hide. And it was an album called Fruit, and it had a very specific image to it of like, it was very colorful, high saturation, like greenery with like palm fronds and all that stuff. Like that was the imagery associated with it, and like the videos and everything and the photos that were put with the branding of it. And then Charlie XCX at one point, after it had already come out, had done a photo shoot with the same photographer that shot Fruit's photos, and they did a very similar theme, but it was specifically for a perfume that Charlie XCX had a partnership with, and the perfume itself was like tropical lemon, and so that's why they did that kind of aesthetic, I guess, for it. And Marina basically like subtweeted her and said, "Why are you copying?" And Charlie XCX had this entire discussion of like, "It wasn't even my art direction, it was for a perfume. I'm not here to copy artists, blah blah blah." And then they basically, I don't know if it was necessarily that was the falling out, or if it was more just that because of that made them grow less and less like each other over time, because they used to be like opening for each other and stuff at certain concerts. Now they don't really talk. And I just thought that was an interesting bit of information that no one else is gonna know.
Like, I'm trying to think of other things, and kind of at the moment, I can think of two, and I'm looking them up to see if they've actually done anything recently. I'm just haven't been listening, but I don't think so. Hold on, no. Go back to that. Cause like, have they? Oh, they have done something recently.
Just clearly was not on your radar.
Well, one of the ones I was thinking was Owl City.
He has done stuff. It's just taken a different sound.
Yeah, and I think that's why I kind of like consider it like not really, because it's not the same sound that I remember them for. It's more of a nostalgic thing. And then also the other one is Jeff Williams, who did a lot of the soundtrack and stuff for a lot of Rooster Teeth things like Red vs. Blue and Ruby. And I really enjoyed his music. But while Rooster Teeth is back now, I don't know what's going on with the animation side of it all. So I have no idea if he's going to come back. I don't know what's going on with Ruby, because that was like one of their only IPs that was still running, as far as I know.
And now
So
look at
it is. Don't know what's going on with it. So those are the only ones I can kind of think of at the moment.
But yeah,
I was like thinking, oh, maybe
sense.
Set It Off, but no, Set It Off is just still doing stuff. I just haven't listened to it recently.
Because I think, especially with this one, her stuff sounds very similar to like the songs that she made during Electra Heart, like sound wise. And so I think that's what it makes more sense in terms of like resurgence, which makes more sense with the Owl City thing too. Of like, it sounds very much like what you know them for, but it just has a fresh spin on it, I guess.
Yeah, and like I've still been listening to a lot of like AJR and everything, and AJR has, and so I've been listening to other artists that have similar vibes. Like I was introduced to Livingston, and that has a very similar vibe to AJR. It's like kind of a mix of AJR and Owl City, in my opinion.
On what
where
side?
It's kind of like, it's a little bit existential, but in a very obscure way.
It's true. I think that was one of the things that I liked most about the Owl City, like Ocean Eyes era, was all of the lyrics sounded so crazy.
Yeah, I think the thing that really, it was that was one of the fun things, and it was like, and you know me, I'm someone who like, okay, yes, character, or a story.
Character.
But they were like so obscure that's like, okay, I could mold this to a specific character if I wanted to. Um, but also I think one of the things that drew me away from Owl City is, especially with their later stuff and I guess more recent stuff maybe, is it became a lot more religious.
Well, that's the
And I'm
thing.
like, I'm really about that life.
It was, even then, I'm pretty sure it was Meteor Shower. There's multiple songs, I'm pretty sure, from the Ocean Eyes that technically have a religious undertone in them. Like, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Meteor Shower and Tidal Wave. Because there's lyrics in the
Wild
end
to
part.
me.
That's the thing. You wouldn't know it unless you listened for it, I think. Or unless
Yeah.
you, like, dissected it to be like, well, what is this talking about? But even then, even with that, I think it still sounded enough in tone with the rest of it. I think that cohesion, that's what I miss, I think, about it, because I liked that electro pop sound with those kinds of like whimsical, almost surreal lyrics. And I feel like there are some things, like there's, I think, Midsummer Night Station, that's the one of the ones that he came out with later, not super later, but like later than the Ocean Eyes, that had a similar vibe, but it wasn't necessarily the same. It felt almost a bit more pop produced rather than like electro pop in your bedroom, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what maybe not like as many things that he came out with, because it didn't have that like dreamy in your bedroom kind of quality that
Yeah,
really stuck with me.
He did something with VeggieTales at some point.
Maybe. Wouldn't surprise me. Scott Cawthon made a bunch of animations before about Jesus.
Well, yeah, Midsummer Station happened after Ocean Eyes.
And I have a couple of things off of some EPs that he did too, but... And I knew that he had released some stuff later on, and I'd given it a listen, but it wasn't my vibe. So I was like, I'm happy for you, and I still like your work, just not all of it. And I think, you know...
I've also... Go on.
No, you go.
I've also been listening to a lot of Fish in a Birdcage recently, which
Sounds
has
very
also
you.
it has also a very similar vibe to kind of an Owl City, but like a different flavor of it, where it's again a bit more kind of absurd, but also like hyper specific to something. But it's like, instead of it being more towards kind of a electronic thing, it's a lot more of an acoustic type thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things that I liked so much about the Owl City stuff, because there was still guitar and piano in certain parts of the songs too, but it like used that or no, because there's also the orchestral parts that he had for certain songs too, and I liked how those like factored into the entirety of the composition. But I liked that it was a mix of sorts, because I don't know, because I've told you about how I consider one of Yoshi's main genres that she likes listening to campfire pirate songs.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go with the lesbian music, but yeah,
That too. If she could find a campfire pirate lesbian song, then she would be set. But like sea shanty adjacent is what I say, because she likes acoustic songs, like acoustic guitar songs, very much so. And the rhythm, I guess, of which the lyrics are sung seems very campfire-esque to me, because it sounds of a certain time. Like almost Owl City-esque, because I feel like some of his songs, if they were made into full acoustic versions, which he does have like acoustic versions of, I think, the Ocean Eyes album, they sound like those sea shanty adjacent songs. So I really think it comes down to, I like the electronic parts of it combined with the acoustic parts of it, whereas Yoshi likes the entirety of the acoustic parts a lot more. But that's probably why she likes the Owl City Ocean Eyes album as much as I like it too. But that's music theory. A game theory.
I need to go back and listen to some of these.
I know for me, what I was gonna say earlier is like, I don't like the fans of people that will like everything even if they don't actually like it.
Yeah.
I feel like a healthy relationship is being able to be like, I like this from you. I don't necessarily like this, but I still support you as an artist.
Similar. Oh, I was muted. I don't know how long I was muted for.
Well,
What's the last thing you heard me say?
I heard. That was it.
I have a lot of situations where I listen to something from an artist that I usually really like AJR. I will always listen to their things pretty much as soon as they get released. And I had this with Epic too, where I'm like, I don't really know if I like this song. Like, I'm just not really vibing with it. And then I listen to it a bit more. I'm like, okay. And now it's like, I love this song. I'm all for it. I love every part of it. That was me with Apathy as well. Where I was like, I'm listening for one reason, and then I kind of like, okay, you're in my ear now, I guess.
Well,
that was like more
point?
of a begrudging, like, okay.
That's the point of an earworm. I think that's normal. I think not necessarily liking a song initially is fine, but forcing yourself to like something is like where I question the motives.
Have you ever accidentally listened to a song so much that one, it starts sounding different to you, but then also it starts making you like, it starts affecting you every time you hear it for a while?
In what way? Affecting you how?
Like, whether it makes you feel sick, whether it starts making you angry, like anything like that, like emotionally.
It didn't have to necessarily do with the song itself as much as it had to do with the attachment from other people to the song that made it not fun anymore.
Okay, not quite what I'm referring to. I'm talking about literally you end up listening to it too much.
I think even with songs that I do that for, it doesn't make it to the point where I hate them. It just makes it to the point where I'm like, I can use a break from it for a bit. But it never starts sounding different.
See, so I've learned that this is something that your brain does apparently if you listen to the same song too many times. And this brings it back to Lemonade Mouth. Lemonade Mouth's song, Living on a High Wire. I really liked that song when I was younger, and this is back when I was using Rhapsody.
Oh boy.
And this is, I don't know if this was like during the first time that it was kind of introduced in kind of this sphere where it's like, oh yeah, listen to the same song on loop or anything like that. But I remember either I didn't know it existed or it didn't exist within the Rhapsody app at the time, that you couldn't just put a song on to repeat. And I also think the Rhapsody app was very glitchy. So in all of my infinite wisdom as a small child, trying to navigate this app that didn't work correctly, I was like, I really like this song and I want to keep listening to it. I want to listen to it more than I listen to the other songs in this playlist. And so I just kept adding the song to this playlist. There was like
was when
20...
you started your like chaotic cracked playlist, and it's just one song over and over again. Oh.
Literally, and the thing is, they got to a point where it's like, okay, I don't want to listen to the song as much anymore, because I just said, Mikey, I don't think there was a way to do it. Not in the way that we could where we can now. I'm pretty sure this was not a feature on Rhapsody. And I still wanted to like have other songs
if you've ever wondered why it's not around anymore, because there wasn't a repeat feature.
But then I specifically this was like when I was very, very young, like I think below 10, and I was like, I gotta keep, like, where I was listening to an MP3 player and everything. And it got to a point where I was like, I don't want to listen to the song as much anymore. And so I tried to delete it. But I guess for some reason, when I would delete it, it would delete that song, all of that single track off of it. Off that playlist. I'm like, no, I want one of this track on this playlist. And so I would try to re-add it. It would re-add all of them again. And I'm like, why can't it just exist? And it got to a point where literally I had heard it so many times over and over again, where one, every time I heard it, it made me angry. But then also because it started sounding different. Like literally did not
That's
sound like the
you.
song anymore. And so I avoided that song like the plague. Cause it became like, oh god, it's right there, like oh he's right behind me kind of a thing, where it felt like I was being hunted by this song.
Yeah, that's a you.
And and then I like a few years ago I heard it again. And I'm like, oh hell yeah, this bops again. And now I'm so careful not to listen to the same song over and over
And
again.
then you check your Spotify and there's just a playlist with only that, and it's migrated over.
No,
Oh god.
no.
I mean,
God.
in a similar case, that's the funny part. Sarah, technically speaking, was very bougie to me because she had Rhapsody. We had Zunes, which were like knockoff Microsoft iPods that we had to download music onto, and we did not have that much music to download onto it. But one of the albums was the Owl City Ocean Eyes album.
Yep, Rhapsody was like an early version, I think, of something like Spotify or Pandora or Apple Music. And like we didn't have any ads. It was just the music. But if it wasn't shared to Rhapsody, like oops, too bad. And it had a like a computer app too for a little bit.
I'm
But
sure it worked perfectly fine without a
listen,
repeat
man,
button and everything.
I think the thing is that they got a repeat button later.
Are they still around?
I don't think so. Let me check.
Because I feel like obviously it's been dwarfed by Spotify. But I'm sure if it is around, someone uses it.
It's Napster now?
What? Excuse me?
Napster?
Like, you nap to it?
I don't know.
Well, considering we've never heard of it, I would say probably not doing that well. Hi, Shinny.
It was Rhapsody, and then in 2016.
That's like TikTok becoming TikTok from Musically. Except one of them actually is successful. I would not say Napster is successful.
Napster was sold to the blockchain company Algorand and the crypto-focused investment firm Hivemind. Following the sale, Emmy Lovell was announced as CEO of Napster. Entered liquidation following a winding up notice from Age.
You just said a lot of words.
On March 25th, 2025, Napster was sold to Infinite Realty? For
Realty?
207. Real. That's what it says. Infinite Realty.
You mean
Real
reality?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Realty? Realty? Oh, that's so funny. Apparently, people know it as Napster. Meanwhile, Sarah's out here saying, I knew it as Pandora. Pandora?
No, I knew it as Rhapsody.
What? Was Pandora a separate thing?
Yes.
I swear it was.
Pandora music is still around in particular.
But again, if no one's using it.
Yeah, Pandora is still a thing.
Do you know who Nikki
My
Blonsky
old
is?
boss used it. No,
You want me to tell you?
I'm looking them up.
She's an actress. Was an actress. I would not consider her an actress anymore.
Has she been in the public eye recently for
Yes.
something?
It's not necessarily
What?
for something as much as she just had a resurgence, but in a not great way.
What? It's having her on her in cameo videos. What is happening with her?
If you want me to tell you what I know.
Yes.
So Nikki Blonsky from Hairspray, the movie,
Mm-hmm.
as she's known literally, you can't say her name without adding on from Hairspray the movie. She played Tracy Turner. Turner. What was the last name of Tracy?
I don't know. I've never actually seen the movie.
That's sad. I feel
Or
like you
the
would like
musical.
it.
I probably would.
But she played the main girl, Tracy. And that was like her main role that she had done, and she had never like acted that much before. Like this was a random call that she got from people saying that she got the part, and she was, I think, working at like a Baskin Robbins at the time or something. And she then did that entire thing, and you know Zac Efron's in it, Hairspray. They were the couple, and basically what had happened is they had obviously done like all this press and everything, and she had done a bunch of press, and she was actually regarded relatively highly back then when it had first come out, because it came out like in the early 2000s, the Hairspray movie, and she was regarded pretty well because which is funny because this shouldn't be the way, but because she wasn't media trained. And so she would be like answering things like a normal person, even when she probably shouldn't have said certain things. And basically what had happened is she did not really get any acting jobs after the fact, or at least not that many. I think she got like maybe 2 or 3, and then she didn't really get anything. And for some reason she would constantly go on Cameo as Nikki Blonsky from the movie Hairspray, and she would do all these cameos for people. And I don't know what happened within the past like couple of months, but she had a resurgence where she was being covered on TikTok of like, this is Nikki Blonsky from the Hairspray movie, and people were getting cameos from her. But one of the main things that happened way back when that a lot of people were trying to put into question as to why she might not have been around in the spotlight for very long is now that she was getting this weird resurgence, and she is like #1 on, I think, Cameo now. People are looking back at stuff that happened in their past, and they saw that one of the things that was like a big drama thing that happened was her family, Nikki Blonsky's family, and I forget what the model's name is, but basically this woman,
Something gold. I think it's like, it's Bianca Golden.
basically she was on America's Next Top Model. She's done more than just that, but that's the main thing that she was known for at the time. Her family and Nikki Blonsky's family got in a brawl at an airport terminal. And what had happened was apparently Nikki Blonsky's dad like punched her mom in the face to the point where her skull was cracked and fractured, and other people that were witnessing it said that it was racially motivated because they were like using slurs against them. And so that happened, and then I'm pretty sure Nikki Blonsky never addressed it really directly or even had anything to apologize for and all that stuff, and because she apparently was involved in this entire fight and was saying things in the fight. And then because there was like little to no media coverage of it, it kind of got swept under the rug. And so now what people are doing is they're like, the dark and chilling past of Nikki Blonsky from the movie Hairspray. And that's been happening recently because for some reason she had this resurgence where a bunch of people are like getting cameos from her. But yeah, just thought you ought to know. This is Nikki Blonsky from the movie Hairspray. But then another thing, so you know how we talked about Puppy Playtime?
Well, we didn't. We mentioned it.
You know how we mentioned Puppy Playtime?
Yes.
I might have gone into a deep dive of the lore.
Oh no.
I'm not going to say all of the lore because I'm probably going to get 99% of it wrong. However, I learned that the blue big stuffed thing is called Huggy Wuggy.
Mm-hmm.
It is not, in fact, Poppy Playtime.
No.
Poppy Playtime is a doll.
A little doll. Yeah.
That is not even the face of the Playtime Corporation.
No.
And I also learned that apparently the gist of their lore is that they started developing the Playtime Company factory, which manufactured toys, started making giant versions of their toys that they would put orphans' souls into. I kid you not. Because apparently the Playtime Company had an orphanage in the factory. This is part of the lore. I'm not even making it up. And they started using orphans to put into these giant toys. And yeah,
All I know is that I don't even remember what his name is. It's not Bluey.
Bluey.
It's the guy that has like 3 souls in him.
I think that's just called like the prototype.
No.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Doughboy?
Yeah. Doey is what he was called. Okay. All I know is that he has 3 children's souls in him. And I've seen that kind of interpreted many ways, but I know,
Like what?
like that one of the kids is a lot more aggressive.
Oh yeah. No,
And
they supposedly put like a kid that was really, really nice, and some of the quote unquote scientists said, would this be a waste to put this kid's soul into something because he's a good kid? And then they put someone who had like really bad anger issues.
yeah, and I saw one, it was a really good animation, of how, like, these 3 kids' souls got, like, a chunk of time, and they went into, like, a circle, and then they specifically would keep the angry kid from getting a chance, so that he couldn't, like, hurt anyone. And then that entire thing, I think, is like, in chapter 3 or chapter 4, or something like that, when it reveals that Doey, like, ended up killing 2 of the parents of one of the kids and everything, where in this animation they basically made it sound like that, oh, it was this it was when the angry kid kind of was able to take control again.
That's the thing. I'm pretty sure something that I vaguely remember, they had this event. I say event. Incident. I don't know. Maybe that's the right word. Called the Hour of Fun. I think that's what it was called. Where, so for some reason, even after they did all of these giant XL versions of the toys and were putting orphan souls into them, they were still having tours of the factory with like parents taking their children. And the Hour of Fun happened when the prototype orchestrated. There's the prototype that was the first ever one that happened, and then there's like this doctor that ended up putting his soul in one of them, like voluntarily, and he kind of runs the facility like a brain in the jar. And he orchestrated this thing. I think the prototype specifically orchestrated it, where all of the giant XL toys would revolt, and they went on this rampage for like an hour, killing every single human that was in the factory, including, I want to say, the orphans. I don't remember, but they definitely killed a bunch of families. So
Okay, fun.
it seems okay. That's the thing that I was going to talk about. So in my mind, I don't understand. I'm assuming it probably had to be Five Nights at Freddy's that really brought this into the mainstream.
Yes.
But children's obsession with horror, and horror driven towards marketing towards children specifically, has become such a big thing now. And I don't get
this
it.
specific brand is called mascot horror, and that's where we get a lot of stuff like Happy Playtime, FNAF, Bendy and the Ink Machine, even.
Yeah, but didn't Bendy and the Ink Machine come out earlier? I swear
Then
it did.
FNAF?
Well, that's
No, the Bendy and the Ink Machine was released in February of 2017.
Huh. I think, well, that's the thing. I feel like for a lot of undiagnosed kids,
Well,
in terms of like if they have ADHD or something, and then they look at like the lore, the lore, quote unquote, of these games, it gives them something to focus on, because they like lore dump to their parents who are like, uh-huh, sure, Timmy.
well, I had a friend. I say I had, as if I'm not their friend anymore. I'm still his friend. We just don't talk as much as we used to, because we
Sarah
were
killed him.
friends. I did not. We became friends in 6th grade, and we were friends all the way till like high school graduation. And he was obsessed, and as far as I know, still is obsessed with FNAF. Like, I've been to his house a couple times, and in his room, his bed covered with every single plushie from FNAF that you can think of. especially Foxy. He loves Foxy.
As they all do.
So like, I've been aware of this entire thing for a while because of him, because he also really likes Poppy Playtime and likes a lot of those mascot horror stuff. I think it also likes the Amazing Digital Circus and stuff like that. So like,
well, it makes me wonder what the correlation is, because there's obviously some kind of trend in the demographic that starts liking these kinds of things. And I also see a lot of LGBTQ+. That goes into the entirety of focusing in this, because I feel like there's a very dedicated sect of each, I guess what you would say, mascot horror fandom that is specifically dedicated to it, but in that kind of representation way. And I never necessarily, because I guess it kind of goes back to the same thing of like, why do the gays love horror? And that combined with what specifically derives people to find such enjoyment in it, and does it have something to do with like almost the childlike appearance of some of the themes and motifs with some of these things? Because I feel like that's a common thing. Like you see it often is like a horror that's geared towards children in terms of like, it's, for instance, Chuck E. Cheese mascots, or it's like kids toys, or I guess with Bendy and the Ink Machine, it's like a cartoon. And so it makes me wonder if that has any correlation to what kinds of people find it most interesting. But I think in terms of like what George was saying of, is this the equivalent of like Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? I would say Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark kind of stuff, that was more tame back then, and things are less tame now because people become more desensitized to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I will say there's definitely a level of desensitization. I think honestly, what could be an aspect is a lot of these mascot horror games that people are really getting into, especially kids, they are products of a lot of indie companies and indie creators and all that stuff. And pair that with the entire aspect of, I bet you a lot of these people are, a lot of these kids are finding them through YouTube creators and everything like that. So one, it's easily accessible without needing any sort of external thing. Like you don't need a specific channel on the TV or anything like that. And you can curate how you're kind of consuming that media based on like who your favorite creators are. But then also, these games aren't limited in what they're able to put out necessarily. Because like, I've seen some clips and everything of current shows on like Disney Channel or on Cartoon Network or anything like that. And they are definitely, while they are definitely expanding in kind of the topics that they cover, it's still very limited. And even the ones that aren't limited as much, they are very much, they get canceled, like with Owl House and everything. Like that's some really good media, and I think it's also really good media, especially for children, with the themes that it covers, but it gets canceled because it has LGBT themes. And so I think in a way it allows for kind of maybe an edgier storytelling, I guess, that you would get than what you would get on like normal like TV and everything that a lot of like kids would usually see. So one, it makes them feel maybe a little bit more grown up. They're like, oh, I'm consuming this really scary media or whatever. But it also, I think it just opens the door for more freedom in storytelling, and I think that draws people in. Because it's like, oh, what if I was able to tell the story this way? And it not in a way that it's like, oh, well, this story is getting yanked away because it's deemed not appropriate for me. But it's like, is this thing really appropriate? But okay, well, it's not being taken away from me, so...
I mean, it definitely, in terms of like the FNAF stuff, I guess similarly to like what you had mentioned, because he never really did like a full lore breakdown or anything, it was definitely in people's hands to kind of determine what the story was in their own way. And I think that brought us a kind of a sense of interactivity that a bunch of people liked, and that obviously drove up anytime there was some kind of game theory or something that was going over all of
Oh
this.
yeah.
But I don't know, I always wondered, because I feel like there is a very clear demographic that it appeals to more, and it's not just kids, because there are people that aren't kids that still like this, like a lot, like you mentioned. And it always makes me wonder like what that Venn diagram looks like, of like what hits that spot perfectly.
I will say also, based on in terms of like what is scary versus what isn't, I think there is something that could be said regarding the fact that a lot of these mascot horrors situations happen in a place that they aren't at all the time, or in a place that it's like, you know how seeing when you were younger, seeing your teacher like at the supermarket was weird to you? Seeing
No, we made out.
What?
Sarah was
What?
so shocked.
What the
What?
fuck is wrong with you?
Oh.
Anyways, to my point, it's something where, because of like a Chuck E. Cheese type thing, you go to Chuck E. Cheese during the day and then you leave for the night, and you don't know what goes on at night. So especially with something like FNAF, it's like, oh, well, it feeds into this unknown aspect of like, oh, they actually come to life at night and everything like that, and they attack people. It feeds into that aspect, but it's something that you don't necessarily have to worry about because you're only ever visiting during the day, kind of a deal. And Puppy Playtime kind of subverts that a little bit, because it's like, well, yeah, it's attacking people no matter what. Fuck you, kind of a deal. But
It's true.
I
Their
think,
entire lore is they just eat people.
so like, I don't really know in that case, but that, I mean, it kind of feeds on to a child's kind of aspect of the unknown, but in a way that they can maybe understand a bit more. It's kind of like, oh, what does your teacher do when they're not at school, kind of a deal.
I want to say that specifically like this generation of mascot horror is kind of like what our generation of creepypasta stuff was.
Oh, absolutely.
Because obviously
Absolutely.
easily accessible, all that kind of stuff, but similarly to like reading about things that are just told, like it's just like when we went over it and we're like, the writing of this is not good. Because ultimately,
Yeah.
if you're a kid reading it, you're not looking for it to be immaculately written with great storylines or anything. You're just looking for it to be semi-horrifying to you or something that you can find interesting. Because there were the exact same amount of kids that I used to know that were obsessed with creepypasta to the point where like they would want to dress up as like Jeff the Killer for Halloween or something.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it really does have to do with like maybe some kind of thinking that, like what you had mentioned, wanting to feel more grown up or something when you see something that has more of a darker tone, even if it really to actual adults does not seem that adult in any sense. And then if that just
Because we
carries
have the
over.
logic. Because adults have the logic to poke holes in it and be like, that doesn't check out, but okay. Kind of a deal. Well, to kids, it's like, oh god,
Oh my gosh, that
they
was
were
actually
eating people.
that was something that I, on the Poppy Playtime deep dive that I did trying to go through the lore, I'm pretty sure the main guy that started the Playtime company had a wife that they were married, I think back in like the 30s or 40s, and in the lore they get divorced, and one of the main points was like, do you know how hard it was to get a divorce in the 30s and 40s? Like you had to do some heinous stuff to even think that was an option. But I always thought that was hilarious, because I genuinely feel, granted I don't think FNAF lore is any better in any sense, but I do think it lends itself to being a bit more mysterious because it's not fully explained. But anything that I've heard about Poppy Playtime lore seems like it was made up by an edgy teen.
And the thing is, I was watching this kind of video essay that was like, the entire thing was, did FNAF ever have a good story kind of thing? And it was
No.
covering kind of what we covered last week, where it was just mainly the first 6 games, and how it's like, it would have been such a more interesting story if it hadn't tried to explain why the animatronics were haunted with Remnant and everything like that. If they had kind of left that alone and everything like that, and even if it had just kind of ended at like FNAF 3, it would have been such a more succinct and more digestible and better story than it being dragged out.
But that's also just what happens when you want to make money.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think that's an aspect to be said. It's like with certain things, like I don't know enough about Poppy Playtime and its creator to like make this claim, but definitely with some, oh, pardon me, with some, I think like Garden to Ban I've heard is like an awful game, but it's like kind of was feeding off of the FNAF hype, where it was like a lot of these things are being created purely to feed off hype and make money, rather than making it for the love of storytelling. While I do want to believe that in some extent, the original FNAF was a passion project in some regard.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of happens a lot with any stuff that you see that happened after FNAF, where it doesn't necessarily feel like it was made because it was a story that people had thought of because of the story's sake.
And I will say, I think that's one of the reasons I really felt like, while my friend was having kind of his FNAF phase, that's when I was really into my Undertale phase. And I still stand by the fact that Undertale is like a really wonderful game and a really wonderful storytelling driven game, because it does not give us all the information. We have to put a lot of things together. And if you want to look at a completely surface level, you're absolutely fine to do so. But if you want to begin to look deeper, you can figure out some really fucking weird shit and awful shit and implications and everything, especially if you decide to do like the different runs, like the genocide run and all that stuff. And what I'm really glad is that while we were really excited, like, oh yes, Undertale, awesome, and then we accepted that as it was, and then we were shown Deltarune, and people were like, oh, Deltarune, yes, and we were seeing characters that we had known before, and we had kind of been told that Undertale was kind of a byproduct of Deltarune, that Deltarune was the actual story. And so there was a lot more questions to be had and all of that stuff. But it was a fact that while we were like, oh, when's the next chapter coming out? When's the next chapter? And Toby just straight up said, like, I don't really want to release any more chapters until the entire game is finished. And if the game is never finished, it's never getting released, kind of a deal. And he very much stuck with that. And actually, he's releasing up to the first 4 chapters for the Switch too. So I don't know if he's kind of backtracked on that entire thing, but it's the entire thing of like, he's very much not doing it for money, but especially because I believe the first 2 chapters of Deltarune were free. But it's very much more of a like, this is my story that I want to tell. And to me, that's also what Undertale was as well. It was a story first and foremost before anything else.
Hide, you say when you were younger. I feel like Undertale did not come out that long ago.
Undertale came out 10 years ago. It's 10 years old in October.
10 years isn't that long.
It's not. And like, Undertale was also one of my first introductions to a lot of fandom aspects. And it's why I joined Tumblr too. So like, and also why I joined Discord my first time. It's because I was specifically role playing and everything like that. And it introduced me to a lot of like molding a story to what you would prefer it to be. It was really interesting, and I still really like dissecting Undertale because I think it's a really fun game to dissect and really kind of read into.
Oh right, I was gonna well, I don't know, what would you cover? It depends. I was gonna ask if you wanted to do like some kind of Undertale episode.
Be against it. I would, like I said, I would need to replay the games and everything, but I think there's a lot of aspects. I think to me, while I absolutely think the game is a masterpiece, and I think between like the music, the combat, the aspect that you don't have to fight, like there's a lot of wonderful things. I would go more into kind of the game design and storytelling, like more of a meta approach rather than an actual like deep dive of the story itself.
Yeah.
Because that's what, and also like maybe a little bit of a fandom analysis, because honestly, I spent more time in the fandom than I did actually playing the game. So, but
You know, actually, I know what we could do.
What?
so that we wouldn't be like going full on deep dive into every single little detail, we could do a split episode, because you would say, I know you would mention that Ni no Kuni was one of, if not like your favorite game.
It is my favorite game of all time, yes.
Because you could do that one too, depending on like what you wanted to do. But I thought we could like dissect our favorite games in a sense of like just doing a brief overview of like what certain motifs and stuff are, because I could definitely do that with Sayonara Wild Hearts.
What I will say, and I'm absolutely down for that, I do like that idea. I will say with Ni no Kuni, I do not overly, I have never overly dissected that game. Because
That's why it could be
in
fun.
my opinion, but I also feel like in my opinion, there's not much to dissect in that case. It feels
some
like
games are like that though.
Yeah, it to me, Ni no Kuni is very much a game where it's like there's a lot of technical aspects, but it's the story-wise, it's a that story-wise game, it is completely surface level and you don't have to look too much into it. There are certain aspects where I'm like, oh god, and I really like kind of the implications of it. And so that would be fun, but like I don't go into it nearly as much as Undertale, and that's why Undertale's like probably my second favorite game. Storytelling-wise, at least. Because we're not getting into like any sort of sandbox games or anything like that.
I was about to say, if you could dissect Minecraft, what even would you dissect it into?
I don't know. I would dissect its kind of lifetime, and I would love to go into a deep dive of kind of the evolution of Minecraft storytelling within like SMPs and everything. In machinimas and all that stuff. I would love to do a deep dive on that.
Okay. Because I know, at least for Minecraft, because that's the thing with Minecraft specifically, especially, just its impact on the entirety of the internet and YouTube space has its own, like, I guess, timeline of sorts of like what made certain things popular. And I feel like that kind of impacted how Minecraft grew as well, and they kind of like fed off of each other, of like constantly growing at an exponential rate.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that would be I've had like some ideas for like if I ever wanted to start making some like video essays for various things.
I would love to see you edit your own video essay.
God, I don't
crash
look at
course.
Premiere.
That would be a crash course. You have to redo Premiere though, because you somehow made it disappear.
I don't know where it is. It says it's installed, but it's not here.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Maybe did you? I don't know. I have no clue where you would have put it.
I don't know.
It makes me think that you somehow accidentally dragged and dropped it somewhere random on that PC, and now it's like lost in the millions of files.
I don't know. And the thing is, I would have to go through the entire rigmarole we did, I think, to get it back. To like reinstall it and everything.
I mean, do you still have the thing that I sent you?
I don't know.
Of course you don't know. Okay, well, we'll end it here then. Sarah will think about her life choices that led her to this point. But yeah, there's plenty of things that we could talk about. And technically, I still have like at least 3 or 4 different topics that we did not talk about this week that I could just randomly throw in. Because one of the things I was gonna talk about was actually old Minecraft mods.
Well, that would be a part of the introspective I would do.
Well, that's the thing. I feel
Minecraft.
It has its own stuff. Because the mod specifically like dived into so many different aspects, and because they all were technically separate entities that were being developed independently, they had like separate communities and stuff, and then from those went into the mod packs and all of that. So I don't know. Hide has very seldom been on the pod though, so if we could force him to be on it, I would still do that.
Same.
And I still think it would be hilarious to one day force Mikey to be on the pod, just because I want to hear him explain something.
Explain Warframe lore.
But yeah, anyways, gonna end here. I'm promising this time at least, because last time I didn't because I was too tired, but this time, this Wednesday, I am streaming. I know what game I'm streaming, and it's a new game that I'm streaming. And Sarah, are you streaming Persona this Tuesday? Don't say how we feel.
Well, I mean, it is how I feel, because if I'm not up to it, then no. If I'm up to it, then yes.
Sarah's gonna be up
I
to
would
it and
like to
streaming
be.
this Tuesday,
Uh,
and she's gonna force herself
I
to
will
play
try.
Persona 5,
I will. I promise you at least an hour of gameplay.
which could just be her stuck in a single part of a building. But you know,
It could be. We don't know
it's
yet.
the hour that counts. So, anyways, talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
I'm not promising you when that hour is.
She's promising it'll be exactly at 7 p.m. Bye bye.
No, I'm not.